Hey, fine mum and dads. Hi everyone. Good evening. Hope you're all okay and not too cold. The beast from the east is on its way, and I'm just jumping on with you this evening to do a live Q&A. All of the questions that you popped into my post a little bit earlier, and things that you wanted to talk about. So if you've got any other topics that you want me to cover today, if you can just pop them in the chat as well, and then I will try and get to them at the end. So thank you very much to the people that took part in our questions this evening. So we've got car sickness, we've got toilet training, we want to talk about rough paw pads, and we're talking about health checks. So if you're on the line, if you can just give me a couple of thumbs up, let me know that you're watching. I want to say hello to you and welcome you. We've got Paula and Deborah. Leslie's here. Hi guys, give us a quick thumbs up. Let us know that you're here, that you can hear us okay. Comment below, let us know who you are for mum or dad to, and what breed of dog they are. And I'll just get started. Just a really quick one before we get into kind of all the questions. Something that's been talked about a lot. Obviously we've got snow here in the UK, and wet weather, and we were talking about how you can keep your dog safe during snow weather. So one of the things that I would really recommend to you is, I know it's very, very difficult with when you're trying to get the dogs into the house after a walk and they've been out walking and you may be rushing off to work, but the councils are obviously gritting the roads and they're gritting the pavements to make sure that people aren't able to slip over, to keep us all safe. But that's not very good for your dog's paws. If you're not cleaning your dog's paws, your dog will clean its own paws, and it's likely that they could ingest something that's nasty and chemical, and it could make them sick. So please make sure that you're obviously cleaning your dog's paws when they're coming in from a walk. Otherwise they're likely to do it themselves. You know, icicles can form in between the paw pads. Things can get stuck, and it can be quite painful for them as well if they've got like a bit of grass that's got stuck around the ice, etc. So, you know, 5 minutes of your time when you get in, make sure you're cleaning your dog's paw pads and getting all of those nasties off. If you've got Lucillin or something like that, that's an amazing spray to be using as well as you clean it. And of course the soggy doggy will get those paws clean and dry within just a few minutes and save you those nasty wet towel smells around the house. So jumping straight in, I want to talk about car sickness. I've got a bunch of notes because I've been doing some research on a couple of things relating to health testing that I want to share with you guys. So we had Julia Hawkins, thank you Julia, commenting, asking about car sickness in dogs. So first things first, like car sickness, there are two different types of problems with travelling with your dog in the car. You've either got dogs that have got anxious about being in the car, or you've got dogs that actually have motion sickness, and they're two very different things. I definitely recommend to all of you guys that have got young dogs that maybe you don't travel so much with your dog. You're thinking in your head, okay, they don't really need to go to the vet that often, or we don't travel on holidays together, so I don't think it's really necessary to put them in the car. My recommendation to you would be to get your dogs in the car for small journeys from being puppies onwards. Excuse me, you two. Every time, isn't it? Every time we come and do a call, Lulu starts acting up, the little diva. Look, Frank's just come here to just get away from her. Okay, so car sickness in dogs, it's all about motion sickness, and you can desensitise the dogs by making sure when they're young that they get really short journeys. Just get them around the block, go for a short drive, you know, drive them to a pet shop if you use pet shops like Pets at Home or otherwise. You know, take them out on longer dog walks. Stephen's asking about harnesses. I will get to you in just a minute if that's all right, Stephen. I just want to get through some of the questions, but we'll definitely cover harnesses on our first of all extra questions. So car sicknesses in dogs, you either have car sickness, which is motion sickness, or you've got dogs that have anxiety as a result of being in the car. They're two very, very different things. Like I said, as soon as they're small, try and get them out on small car journeys, but there are other things you can do to stop motion sickness and travel sickness. The one thing is, try not to feed your dogs too soon before you travel. because it's motion sickness, it's travel, it's confined space. It's the same thing with children. You're more likely to have a dog that's going to vomit if they've just recently had a meal and then go into a long car journey, particularly if they're not used to travelling in a car. My personal recommendation is not to feed for 4 hours, because that's the amount of time that it takes in the dog's digestive system to kind of process their food. Hello, hi. Can everyone say hello to Lulu, who's just being an absolute little diva bot this evening? I think she's got like the zoomies in her because she's not been able to get out as much as she would usually. Right, okay, so if you've got a dog that's got bad anxiety or sickness issues with travelling, one of the products that we tried and tested with a beautiful Frenchie called Buttercup, who did a 5-hour journey and was extremely sensitive to motion sickness, was Dual West Valerian compound drops. So you apply these like by putting them underneath the tongue, or you can put them on a treat, or you can put them in their food. Thank you, Stephen. She's lush, but I'll send her to yours for an hour and I guarantee you'll bring her back. So Dual West Valerian compounds. Valerium is a natural herb that helps calm. It's also used in human medicine. The Dual West Valerian compound drops for us were better than the capsules. And that's what we would recommend that you use if you have a dog that is struggling with getting out in the car and is extremely anxious in terms of journey. I know that also Melanie Barker, who's a really good friend of ours and is often on the page, her dog Arthur was extremely stressed out every time he had to go to the vets, and that was a natural supplement that she was able to use with him just to get him to keep calm in the car. So that's the one that I would recommend to you. But a few things you can do yourself, so just regular journeys. If you know you're going to be travelling, let's say on a 4-hour trip, like to go and see family and friends, you know, in the time leading up to it, just take the dogs out on a short drive in the car. Just get them used to it, see it as a positive experience, and make sure you take obviously lots of breaks on long journey. Make sure that they've had water, and actually, you know, make sure that they haven't eaten too soon before you travel. Okay, so that was what our recommendation was for car sickness. The toilet training piece. So this is 5-month-old Monty, who, if his mummy, I'll just check names here, she's got an issue at the moment. 5-month-old Monty, he goes to bed around 11 o'clock, and if he's let out of his crate at 5:45 in the morning, as mummy told us, then he's clean and dry. Anything later, and then there's an issue with wet crate. Now, yeah, it is true that a dog doesn't tend to wee in the same area that they sleep or that they eat, but we would recommend, you know, there needs to be an element of understanding. It's a bit like a toddler that, you know, dogs are not fully formed into mature adults until they're 12 or 18 months. I remember with Frank, I really struggled a little bit with the toilet training, particularly when in the cold, because he's a bulldog and he doesn't like to go out when it's freezing for a wee. When he was a puppy, I had to take him out regularly and kind of force myself with that alarm clock to get up and to get out and to let him go to the bathroom. I wouldn't recommend leaving a dog that's 6 months old anything longer than 5 hours maximum to go to the toilet. 6 hours, but it depends on what they're used to. So Monty's used to going to bed at 11 and then getting up at 5:45. So my recommendation to Monty's mummy, who's been getting up at 7 and finding a wet bedding, is try and get up on 15-minute intervals a little bit later, and get him used to the fact that he's going to be allowed to go to the toilet a little bit later. So if you're doing 5:45 and that's working, try and set your alarm for 6 o'clock. Do that several days in the row consecutively. Lots of positive praise. Obviously ignore if there is accidents. But, you know, just do it in intervals. Like 6 or 7 hours is quite a long time for a 5-month-old puppy to go. I would say that that is completely normal if he's having little accidents. Also think about what time that he gets his last drink and his last feed, because it's a bit like us with humans. You know, if I have a drink at, say, 12 o'clock at night, you know, my body will naturally wake me up at a certain time to let me know that I need to go to the bathroom. So it's no different with dogs, really. So that would be our top tip with toilet training. Be patient, lots of positive praise, and just an element of understanding that a little bit like a toddler that you're teaching and you're toilet training, they can't go too long without a toilet break. So it's just a little bit of patience. You will get there. You're doing all the right stuff. You can try the whole feeding in the crate, but I don't really think that you probably need to do that. I think it's just about maybe not making him go as long as 7 o'clock. Start with 6 o'clock, then in a few days later, if he's doing well, do it to 6:15, 6:30, 7 o'clock. And as he gets a little bit older, his bladder, he will be able to start controlling his own bladder a little bit better. Okay, I hope that helped you a little bit there. Okay, rough paws. We had Margaret Browning, thank you Margaret, who wanted to know all about rough paws, which I think is a big thing that people are looking at the moment with the wet weather and the dry weather. Heating's on. We've got seen. I know my dogs have got dry paws, so you might have cracked paws, or you might need something for protection. So there are 3 products that we would recommend, 2 of which are in our store, one which is currently not in our store, that we would recommend depending on what your dog's own needs are. So the brand Paws, that also do those rubber little booties, they do a really good paw wax that protects the dog. It's something I would recommend that you apply to your dog's paws before going out on a walk, and it will give a level of protection against the dirt and the grit. That doesn't remove the fact that you also need to clean their paws when they come in, as we said, and make sure that there are no nasties. Lucilin is a great spray that will keep it all nice and clean. Give that a good generous spray and get them cleaned up. But that's our protection recommended paw balm. So my 2 favourites, we've got Mrs. Mills Paw Cure, which is from our very own Mrs. Mills, who's a beautiful EF bulldog that was rescued and adopted by Nikki. She created a brand because she wanted something that was all natural for dogs, that that basically gives the dog the benefits of exactly what it is that they're looking for. And she wanted something nourishing, and that was going to make their paws lovely and soft and just give them everything that they needed. So the Mrs. Mills Paw Cure is really good. Your central heating will be up full whack, no doubt, tonight and the last few nights. When that happens, you'll see your dog molting a lot more. And their paws will obviously change. It's a different sensation, going out on the cold pavement in comparison to being out on wet grass or in warmer months. So Mrs. Mills Paw Cure, if you've got rough paw pads, is a great product. The other one is also the Hemp by Hound. So hemp is a natural herb which is healing. It's got great properties. It's actually what CBD oil comes from in kind of, the truest of senses. Hemp by Hound is a really good paw and nose balm where you've got cracks and you actually need some healing. So all you need to do is apply that. It comes in a tub that's a generous amount, but you actually need a very, very small amount to apply that to your dog's paw pads kind of on a daily basis, and that will help you with dry paw pads that are cracked and just need that little bit of extra TLC. Okay, so my big topic, and the one I'm going to refer back to the notes, and I really hope that you guys are still with me. If you're still with me, just give me a couple of thumbs up, let me know that you're listening. We want to talk about health testing and how you can ensure that you're not over-vaccinating your dog. So vaccinations is one of those things. We get a letter through from the post that says it's time to vaccinate your dog. But how much do you really know about the vaccinations that you're giving to your dog? Over-vaccinating can have negative side effects and isn't really necessary. There is a natural way to find out exactly what kind of immunity that your dog has, so you can make a decision about what you want to vaccinate. So this testing is called titer testing. And can you give me a little heart if you've actually heard of titer testing before? Titer testing is where you take a blood sample from the dog and you actually check their immunity and their antibodies. Excuse me. Hi. Hi. No. No, 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 no. No. Okay, there's a couple of people that have heard of titer testing. So titer testing is something that you should be able to request from your vet. Okay, so there are some vaccines out there, such as the parvovirus, that they say that once you've been exposed to parvovirus, the dog's been exposed to parvovirus, or it's had a vaccination against parvovirus, that it actually stays within the dog's body for 7 to 9 years. So you really don't need to be giving them extra immunity by vaccinating them on the parvovirus every single year. But there are some, such as kennel cough, which last in the dog's body for 7 to 9 months. Okay, so what you want to be doing is asking your vet to do the titer test, which isn't expensive. I think it's about £30 on your dog before you're doing vaccine. It's Stephen, I'll get her in a minute, but she's just being a little diva and kind of like, you know, she's now passed out. Look, she's had enough now. She's run around like a lunatic. She's having a 5-minute break, but I'm sure she'll be back with us very, very soon. So titer testing. Let me just look up some of the other stuff I wanted to talk to you about. So Lyme and lepto kennel cough. Those vaccinations last in a dog's blood for 7 months to a year in terms of the immunity, but it's still a bit unclear about what the protection levels are after that. So what they say is with those vaccinations that you've got immune memory for life. So it could be that your dog still has a strong immunity after they've had a lepto or kennel cough vaccination, which is why I would recommend that you look at having a titer test. There was a lady on this group earlier that was saying that she was in certain dog groups and they were saying that they're all doing blood tests. It's most likely that they were talking about titer testing, although if you have got a dog that's been on Apoquel or kind of steroids for a really, really long time, they do have adverse kind of effects on dog's liver and dog kidneys. So I really would recommend that you actually ask for a full MOT once a year. It shouldn't be expensive from your vet, just to understand what the impact that medication is having on your dog, and then potentially discuss, like we always recommend, if you're having to have things like that on a long term, you want to know whether or not there are natural and holistic ways to deal with it, rather than chemicals, which obviously have adverse effect on livers and kidneys. So little thumbs up if you do natural flea and worming treatment, and give me a little heart if it's something that you want to do but you're actually a little bit worried about kind of the protection levels. Be really interested to see the kind of the balance between people that do natural flea and worming in comparison to the people that use things like Advocate and Aptil and all those kind of things. So there's some people that are doing natural, but some people who'd like to don't understand. Okay, brilliant. So there are so many herbs and natural things out there. You know, we do need to consider that with all dog treatments, chemicals have only been around for a certain amount of time, but dogs have been around an awful lot longer. Okay, there are natural supplements that you can either feed your dog or that they can be provided as extras that will give your dog additional like immunity and basically repel ticks and fleas and worms. So my favourites are Billy No Mates, the garlic and fenugreek powder that we recommend, and also Verm-X. So Verm-X also helps with lungworm, which it's completely different to anything else that's out there, and it's a natural product. So definitely look that one up. It's something that's coming into our store very, very soon, and we're very excited about, because it's not something that I want to do is give my doggies chemicals. So one of the things that puts people off, I think, with it's more on the worming side, if I'm right, like give me a little thumbs up, like people are not so worried about, you know, naturally treating for the fleas, because obviously if there is a flea you can see the flea on the dog's body, and the same thing with the tick, but it's actually more on the worming side, like what can I not see that's going on inside my dog's body. And there are kits out there, would you believe, that can help you work out what's going on in terms of worming and your dog's kind of digestive system. So these are dog worm egg count kits. They're a little bit out there in terms of they require you to take a stool sample from your dog, and the ones that I've looked at are about £20, and that includes all of your results, all of your lab kit, and the sending back. They send you a kit out in the post. You need to take on one sample, you need to take it just for 1 day, and then on the second half of the kit, you take a stool sample for 3 days in a row, and that will test for lungworm. You pop it back in the post, and then they'll tell you exactly what, you know, what's going on inside your dog's body, and what the you know, the egg count is, and if there are worms present. So I really think that that's something that if you are wanting to do natural flea and worm treatment, but you're a little bit nervous about it, you know, £20, it's really inexpensive, and you can look to do a worm egg count kind of every 2 or 3 months. And that's something that I'm actually starting to do. Is I've been doing the natural flea and worm treatment, but I'll be honest with you, I've not been doing the worm egg count. I pick up my dog's poo every day, and I've kind of been doing it like that, but I think that's going to give me as well an added level of assurance that I'm doing the best thing for my fur babies as a mum. So I'm just going to pop on to some of the questions. I'm just scrolling up. We had a question here about from Stephen. Just bought a Julius harness for my bulldog. Are they a good harness? Okay, so Julius Canine harnesses are really good if they are the right size and the right design for your dog's shape. I must admit I'm not the biggest fan of the Julius Canine harnesses. My preference is Kurgo or Roughwear for a multitude of reasons. So the Kurgo and the Roughwear come with enough points where you can adapt it to your dog's exact size. So it's like having a tailor-made harness. I do like the Julius Canine. I love the little Velcro tags. I think they're super cute, but I definitely have seen some problems with puppy limp and shoulder issues, because with the Bulldogs, and I'd love to use mine too here as an example. Frank, are you going to come say hi? Frank, come here a minute. Hi, Bethany. Right, so, and Natasha, I'll get to yours in a minute. Hey. Are you biting his leg? You're going to go in the naughty step in a minute. Right, so can you see across here, Frank, this is where the Julius Canine would be sitting. So if you've got a strong dog that likes to pull, what you're going to do by having a strap across here, when you pull them, they're going to pull their shoulders back. And that's going to potentially cause damage and wear away in between their shoulder pads. And we've actually had quite a few dogs that have had to get hydrotherapy and issues because of the way that harness was sitting and it wasn't right for them. So what I personally recommend is, if you've got a dog that pulls, please stay away from the Julius Canine harnesses. You're much better off having Kurgo or Roughwear, or one that has a chest plate in the middle. Why? Because if you think about it, like a dog, well, the majority of big dogs, they have a large chest area. So that's Bulldogs, Dog de Bordeaux. Most dogs have a larger chest and rib area. So when they're pulling with they're pulling their center of gravity down to the floor, and they're pulling with all of their might. So if you need to be more in control of your dog, you need to be able to be in control. So there you go. Minimise barking noise. Okay, I'll just get to you in just a minute, Valerie. So if you've got a dog that pulls, you need to have something with a chest plate in the front. It will allow you to have much more control of your dog. It will make you feel much more confident on a walk, and it will make for a much happier experience. Things like Kurgo and Roughwear also allow, they have 2 rings, so there's a ring at the back. If you have a dog that pulls a little bit but not too much, or just, doesn't pull at all. And there's also a ring at the very, very front which you can clip to and attach, and then, you can actually do the right level of training with an experienced trainer, or otherwise that can stop you, kind of train out the bad behaviours of pulling. So obviously, Stephen, congratulations on, getting your Julius Canine. I'm sure you've chosen some really cute little Velcro tabs for the hooch. Just keep an eye on it, make sure that it's set up properly, and obviously come back and have a conversation with us if you're finding that it's not the right product for you. As a general, it's not a harness, unfortunately, that I think I can recommend because of some of the health issues that I've seen. But if you've got a dog that's not particularly active and is not pulling, then it's probably absolutely fine. Okay, right, so next question we had here from Natasha: how to stop my 7-month-old bulldog pup harassing my 6-year-old bulldog? Correct it or leave them to sort it out for themselves? So I do think it's a little bit like children. There are instances where you could probably get too involved, but it definitely needs you to get involved, Natasha. So I would probably be recommending, so make sure more than anything, I learnt this with my little girl who's harassed Frank when she first came, is definitely make sure that you keep that pack structure. Your 6-year-old dog was the first dog. You have a cute puppy, but it comes next in line. Your puppy needs to learn to see where it sits within the hierarchy of the family. So mum and dad at the top, children, then dogs. So if your 7-month-old bulldog puppy is, puppy is harassing your 6-year-old dog, I think you need to be putting the dog on time out from time to time. You need to give him really clear instructions. So Lulu likes to bite the back of Frank's leg, and she pulls it like a turkey drumstick backwards. And how he hasn't ripped her face off sometimes, it just shows testament that he's the soppiest thing in the world. However, I will get involved if I see her behaving too aggressively, and it's just a really quick, with the finger point of no. Or something that a trainer once taught me, which is quite an irritating noise. I do apologise. Like, ah, 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 ah. Yeah, dogs are reacting. So it's just sort of like a very quick, sharp, and it's just a message to say, no, Don't be doing that. If the dog continues to do that, please don't send them to their bed in their crate. We don't want beds to be seen as a negative place, but put them on a timeout. Remove their freedom. So when Frank goes out on a walk, for example, he loves a walk. He's not always the best on his recall. He wants to be free. So the way that I train him is if I call him and he refuses to come, he goes back on the lead. He's not told off, he's not shouted, he's not smacked. He is simply put back on his lead and he loses his freedom. And that affects him more than if I told him off. So my advice to you would be, if you've got a 7-month-old bulldog, 7-month-old puppy that's harassing the 6-year-old, is a little bit let them work it out, because you don't want to always kind of be getting in the middle of the two. But, you know, you want to be careful, because if things go bad, you don't want to end up in a household where the two dogs won't, you know, get on with each other. Don't try not to, you know, hi. This one is a prime example of sportness gone wrong. So I definitely know what, what you're going through, because she harasses him. So anyway, regular timeouts, away from the room, not to her bed. Just push her, you know, get her out of the room and the situation. Don't be paying too much attention to the puppy. Always make sure that your other dog comes first, and they'll soon understand where they sit in the hierarchy and hopefully not push their luck too much. I hope that helped you. Stephen, there you go. There's Lulu's. Hi. You're so full of yourself, aren't you? Yes. Right, so next question is, anything you can do to try and stop or minimise the barking at all animals on TV? We can't watch anything with animals in it, even cartoons. That one's a bit of a funny one. Okay, because I know that my dogs bark, but not every time that there are animals on TV. I think it depends on how long it's going on and if it's becoming an irritation. I think you need to probably be doing, there's a particular training method that I learned, which I was trying to use on Lulu, because she was getting into trouble because of her brother. So basically, any time another dog growled at her, she would jump in. And it was a really quick trick of, Lulu, look at me, good girl. And you're saying you want to point to your nose with a treat, and you just want to distract them from that behaviour. So, for example, if I had my TV on right now, and you had a dog coming on or an animal, before it gets to that point, you want to get your dog's attention. Go, look at me. Look. Good girl. I don't have any treats right now, but I would be giving her treats. And what you're trying to say is, you distracting yourself from what you're doing and focusing on me is a really good behaviour, and therefore you're going to get a treat. So you could try that. Just constant positive reinforcement every time that there are dogs on TV. You could also try by deliberately putting on some dog programs and putting the volume on low, and just to kind of see what some of those triggers are. And the quieter they are, the more well behaved that they are when there are animals on TV. Just constant positive reinforcement, really. That's what I probably would be recommending. But the look at me trick is very good. So you literally get a treat and you put it right close to your nose. And the idea is that when the dog gives you eye contact, you give them the treat. Hey, look at me. Good girl. Right, okay, so Bethany is saying, any advice for reducing fear during thunderstorms and fireworks? We have a thunder shirt which has done a great job, but it's not been a cure by any means. Yeah, Bethany, that's something that we've talked about quite a lot last year, and I think you're quite new, so welcome to the family. Have you ever tried plugins at all? So pet remedy plugins. We worked with quite a few really anxious dogs, like rescue dogs. I'm trying to think. We had Stacey, who's fur mum to Buster, whose dog had a firework thrown at him in the middle of the day and was extremely, extremely nervous when it came to fireworks. And what we did with them is they tested the Pet Remedy plugins. We also, around fireworks time, and we have in the winter months, these K-Fine calming melts. They work obviously only when you're in the house and in the room with the dog, and it's like a tea light. You plop the tea light underneath, and then you have the candle on top, and then you allow kind of it to burn, and with the door shut, it's definitely extremely calming. It's one of the best sellers when it comes around to fireworks night. Thunder shirts are really, really good, but I think they're much better for dogs that have got anxiety issues that are like environmental or day-to-day stuff rather than fireworks, because the thing with dogs and their anxiety is it's a state of change. So I'll do this in another video, but for example, if you've ever heard somebody say that when someone brings a new baby, the dog is jealous, dogs don't have jealousy. Jealousy does not exist in dogs. Dogs get anxious, and they get anxious about change to their routine, change to their environment, and change to their surroundings. So the banging of fireworks is something new, something unexpected. They have no opportunity to prepare for it. It's just bang, it's there. I would have a look for you there, Bethany, about looking at the Pet Remedy plugins. You've got the miniature sprays as well that you can spray on their fur, and you can also spray on their bedding. I did also talk a little bit earlier about travel sickness and Door West Valerian drops, which is also another really good calming product that could really help you. They've tried the Pet Remedy plug-in and the Pet Remedy spray, but not tried them out, so I'll give that a go. So we've got some at the moment. Have you got fireworks where you are at the moment? Is it like a constant thing, or are you just trying to get prepped for next year? Because I'm thinking about how we can best get you to kind of test that situation, and you know, if we haven't got fireworks at the moment, it might be a little bit difficult to do. But I don't know exactly where in the world you are and kind of what the situation is with fireworks, if you're expecting any fireworks soon. So if you need any extra help, like just, you know, give us a PM on the page. I'd be more than happy to kind of get involved with you. Right, guys, we've got another couple of minutes, and I'm going to jump off and have a little cuddle with my fur babies. This one's already passed out on top of my dressing gown, which I took off just before this shoot. So Bethany said, not at the moment, but always like to be prepared. You're in the West Midlands. Oh, hi. Not that far then, just a few hours. Okay, yeah, the calming melts are really, really good, but it's also something you could do, just as another little tip. I would definitely recommend working with your vet with this, is you could try to do desensitizing activities. So, but I would recommend that you work with your vet on that one, or kind of get behaviouralist support. If you've tried the Pet Remedy plugins and you've tried the spray and you've tried the Thundershirt and your dog is extremely stressed out when it comes to fireworks, there are actual kind of audio like activities that you can do, which long and short of it involves putting fireworks sounds on a low sound and then kind of building them up to desensitize your dog. I would probably do that as well, because you're not going to have enough time. Well, we're not going to have enough time to test it before the fireworks come. And I definitely think regardless, there's probably something that can be done there. So, but you want to obviously work with somebody, if you know a dog trainer or a behaviouralist, you know, don't just go onto YouTube and you know, get fireworks sounds and, you know, do it yourself. We want to make sure that the fur babies are happy and healthy, and yeah, it's all been done very, very well. So, okay, guys, does anybody else want... oh, we've got another question here. Lynette Moy, can I give chamomile tea to my dog food? Yes, you can. Chamomile tea is very, very good for dogs. It's good for their digestive system, and it's also very good for calming. So what I would recommend you do, Lynette, is you boil a cup of chamomile tea, leave the chamomile tea bag in to brew, and then obviously let it go down to lukewarm temperature before you pour it over your dog's food, or you can add it to water. My recommendation would be that you add it to food, because with water you don't actually know how much of the chamomile tea your dog's actually ingested and actually had. So is that for calming, or is that for digestive problems? Is there wind? Let's have a look what she comes back with. Bethany, that's okay. You're more than welcome. Happy to give any help that we can. Have a conversation with your vet for sure. So chamomile tea, just a tip for mum and dads on the line. Chamomile tea is also really good, the tea bags, if you need to do any soothing. So let's just imagine a position where your dog's got like an ulcer in its eye, or it's scratched itself and it's all very sore, and it's a Friday evening, and you can't get in to see the vet. Chamomile tea is also very, very soothing. What you would do in that instance is boil a cup of chamomile tea, and I would get the tea bag, dump it in, obviously when it's gone to lukewarm, and just gently dab it around that area if you don't have something such as lucillin, or, you know, something else to fall back on. So, okay, I'm just going to put it out to the room and see if you've got any more questions that you want me to answer. I'll do one more before I go. So it'll be first come, first served. And we'll do another one of these next week, because I'm more than happy to jump on and just talk to you about anything you want to talk about. So more than happy to do that. If we don't, I'm just going to do one last thing before we go. Okay, right. Seems like everyone's a little bit shy. So let's talk about dog toys, mum and dads. So biggest question on this group always seems to be about dog toys. There's been updates this week about the Aldi special offer, the dog toy that doesn't last more than 5 minutes. And so I just want to talk to you really quickly about how you choose the best toy for your dog, save yourself money in the process, and also have realistic expectations. Now, I'm really sorry, and I don't want to burst anybody's bubble. There is no such thing as a completely indestructible soft dog toy. No matter what any company tells you, believe me, we've tested them all, and there are some that are stronger than others. But if you have a dog that likes to destroy things, it will destroy that soft toy if it wants to. So if you've got to think about it like our clothing, so it's knitted fibres. So, and when something's knitted, you know, and it's not a rubber mould, and it's not kind of, you know, it always has kind of much more vulnerabilities than, say, a rubber toy. It's been stitched together. So there is always a chance that your dog can destroy it. Now, we did the Tuffy range. We've done some of the Kong knot toys. There were the snakes without the stuffing that some of our members tried. There's a huge amount. So my advice to you would be, there's only one toy that we would even consider as a soft toy to put forward, which is the Westpaw Boogie, which is extremely strong, although it doesn't look it, and it's very, very fluffy. It's not the cheapest, it's around 20 something pounds. The Westpaw range, that's their kind of, their selling point is that they deal with destructible, indestructible, strong toys that are replaceable, easily washed, and absolutely incredible. I love Westpaw, and actually I think we've got Hurleybone over there that it's too far for me to reach, otherwise I'd show you. Well, actually, no, let me get this Hurleybone for you. So I'm just going to take a little bit of a wander with you. All right. You know what, the dog's going to get mad now as soon as that. I'm going to sneak this. Oh. Yeah, so the Westpaw Boogie is the only soft toy on the market that, to be honest with you, the Tuffies, but every dog is very different. So if you've got a dog that loves to destroy, you really need to kind of decide what you think you'd be willing to spend and willing to lose with a soft toy. I would recommend for dogs that are destroyers, you want to go for this kind of stuff, which is this is the Westpaw Hurleybone. So Jelly, who's one half of Frankand Jelly's had her Hurleybone now for 2 years. I know that we've got Bethan, who was one of our very first detectives to help us test. She's had hers for 2.5. We've had ours, this one, a little while. I think ours original one went missing somewhere in the house, and there's not a tooth mark on it, even though the dogs chew it every single day. That's part of the Westpaw range, which is why I have it, because Lulu likes to attack teddies, so I'm sure she would just kill every soft toy. And this is the Westpaw Wox, which is really good because Frank, what's this? Oh, this one's Frank's favourite, isn't it? Frank likes this because he can get his mouth around it and give it a good pull. So if you've got a strong dog that likes to destroy, I really, really would recommend that you look at a rubber style toy. Bethany's just jumping on saying we've got a household of soft toys. Ozzy loves them. He only ever destroys rubber and hard toys. Well, that's what I mean about every dog is different. So, you know, in general, we would say that if you have got a dog that likes to destroy, they obviously get a lot of stimulation from chewing, and it's almost like, you know, an animalistic kind of need. So things like coffee wood, chew roots, you know, but make sure you've got the right sizes, because if you get the wrong sizes, they're likely to, you know, to damage quicker. So coffee wood, chew roots, give them something mentally stimulating. So you've got the snuffle mats, which we've got, by the way, coming back in on Monday, the original snuffle mats, where you can hide treats in. You've got the canine connectables, which are Lego style toys. If you've got a dog that likes to destroy, I would say that they are, I don't want to say lacking stimulation, but they're not. They're a dog that needs to be stimulated, either through chewing or through kind of brain type activity. So have a look at puzzle toys, have a look at the canine connectables, which is like doggy Lego, but stay away from the soft toys. If you've got a dog that can occasionally, you know, damage a soft toy, then you want to look at things like the Westpaw Boogie. But if you're just looking for the next soft toy that, you know, your dog's not going to be able to destroy, and it's destroyed every one so far, I'm sorry to say that this probably isn't going to be possible, and you're going to be a little bit disappointed. And I don't want you to spend money when you don't need to spend it. I would just suggest that you're probably looking at the wrong type of toy for your dog, and we can definitely help you find something more suitable. So I hope that that's been a good chat for you. I really just enjoyed getting on and speaking to more of you. It's one of my favourite things to do. I'll also pop a replay into this week's Doggy Detective magazine for anyone who wants to catch up on it. And if you've got any questions that you want me to add for next Wednesday's live streaming session and a bit of a chat, pop them in these comments below. I'm going to look at these first before I look at the ones that I'll put a post out for next week, so you'll get to go to the you know, the top of the queue, the questions. And at any time you want to ask anything of me and my amazing team, you can just go on the Frankand Jellies page. My personal email address is sarah@frankandjellies.com. You can have my phone. I'm available to you all the time. Just kind of utilise us for what we're here for, which is to kind of give you advice on the best products. We've tried and tested more than enough of them. Yeah, and I thank you for being part of our Frankand Jellies family. I'm appreciative of every single one of you, and I really look forward to our next chat. Okay guys, speak soon. Bye.